Greetings. Sending all some warm, positive vibrations. This is Body-Culinary, and I wanted to come on uh, this early day just to share some thoughts as I'm moving about quietly. Having some hot water. I've been up in the wee hours. I am an early riser. Shout out to all of my early risers. Up early, writing and creating. And as I was just sitting here creating, I was just thinking, like, oh my goodness, I'm just allowing myself, what came across the ticker tape of my mind's eye was just allowing myself to be led. And so I'm thinking, like, wow, I'm really allowing myself to be led. And as I listen and observe my thoughts, I was noticing little nervousness and nervousness. So I like to ask why and observe my own thoughts. And so as I'm creating and I'm revising, I'm putting exactly what I know in place. I'm manifesting what's in my mind's eye onto paper, and I'm using graphics, and I'm feeling a sense of confidence, and I know what I'm doing. I'm reflecting on some of the things that I'm creating and putting in place, I've been doing for several decades. And so as I think about the nervousness, I think about, wow, why is it that we are nervous? Why is it that I, and that quite often we are nervous about expressing ourselves when it comes to creativity, whether that be dance, writing, the arts, offerings, or things that we're called to do that we want to share in the world. So that is my contemplation this morning. For those of you that are new to the channel, do know this is Body-Culinary. I have a list. My hair is still wet from the shower. And this is my quickie style of the day. Another little flavor of the loose bun. I have enough for a bun. So personal trainer, natural born woman, uh, mom, chef, lover of a natural lifestyle, or as natural as I can get it in the times that we're living in. On this channel, I love to share motivation to reactivate, um, start, begin, refine a personal movement practice because it is so deeply therapeutic. I love to inspire folks to start a garden, whatever kind of space that you're in, if that's a room, if that's an apartment, if that's a home, if you share a home, a garden. Again, it has so many reasons, food security being one of them, as well as it being deeply therapeutic. I also love to share my journey of radical self acceptance of how I popped out onto this plane with this very fine, kind afro textured hair and peaceful consumption. And so, what that looks like for me, you will likely find your own sweet spot along your journey. What that looks like for me is fresh, whole living foods that I can still recognize them as whole foods and they still have their living water intact, fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, legumes, sprouts. I have been a junk food junkie in the past, so it's really amazing to me now that I'm not a junk food junkie and that I'm really excited to be able to create from whatever kind of natural ingredients I have accessible to me and whatever is in my spending plan. So those are the type of things that I share on this channel. So if you're interested in that kind of content, please feel free to stick around, subscribe. You can also find on bodyculinary.com, body-culinary.com, my guide, Whole Living Foods in the Hood with menus to fit your budget. So that's many years of experience of somebody that's a big foodie but loves a natural lifestyle, and that's how I sustain myself. So you can see pictures and tips and tricks on how I've been able to maintain this as a lifestyle. There's also their natural beauty no products, how I've healed my skin of a lot of acne. Recently, actually, I have a couple of blemishes from eating too many nuts. So it's interesting as you eat very simple, you can track exactly what it is that is causing your face to break out. And you can also relax knowing that the body is self-healing. And so you don't have to buy a whole bunch of powders and creams. Actually, it's food that I put on my face. And so I relax. And it's also interesting to see what the skin will do. I'm very prone to hyperpigmentation, and I just allow the skin to heal on its own. So, in any event, what I would love to share today is just this being divinely led. And so I'm just typing, and I'm so grateful for technology because now you can play around with your own website and your own ideas. Back in the day, you would have to pay somebody, and you can still pay folks to develop your website. Quite often, though, if we have an idea, it may not be fully formulated. And so, to be able to take pictures from your phone or graphics and just to create, I don't know what your creative process is, but that works for me. And I quite often find as my ideas develop, some of my ideas have been with me for decades, and the idea keeps growing. So if you had to pay, as we did back in the day, somebody for all of that, that might be cost prohibitive, right? And also you have access. Somebody else, you would have to call them for them to make changes to your website, and you can only reach them at certain hours. So I'm really grateful for the technology, and I usually like to make an effort to make a positive use. I strive to make a positive use of the internet. So, excuse me. So, hopefully, you have your water in a wine glass. I have my hot water in a little sleeve. I'm always into food containers and stuff like that, things that make the lifestyle fun. And I have my hot water here. Usually, I have water in a wine glass. This I can keep piping hot water or tea. So, in being divinely led, I have myself surrounded with my colorful planners that looks like a coloring book, and using some of my devices because I'm also very visual. I like to be able to see the year at a glance. That helps me to stay accountable with my time. I like to be able to see the time so I can see if I'm wasting time. And I also like to be very comfortable. So I don't like a lot of clutter around me while I'm creating. And usually I'm very inspired to create. If you've been on this channel for a while, you may or may not know that the early morning hours, the wee hours, are actually what I consider the power hour. And it has been like that for many, many years. For some reason, 4 o'clock in the morning in particular is when my mind is very lucid and clear, creativity, answers to challenges or quote unquote problems that I am working through. As I'm very quiet and the volume of noise is turned down, I can really hear very, very clearly. And so, actually, sometimes if I start moving around, I will forget a lot of my ideas as I get distracted, right? And my attention gets drawn elsewhere. So, I woke up in the wee hours, and I have so many creative ideas to share. Sometimes I'm even overwhelmed by them. And if you're a perfectionist, you may know you might not share any of them because we're so busy being a perfectionist. So this morning in the wee hours, I'm just letting them flow. And I feel kind of amazed by stuff that I knew was already in there. And I just asked myself, what is the nervousness in putting those things out there? So I have decided to let nervousness come along for the ride because I have things to do and to share. And life is so precious. We may not get the opportunity or the inspiration to do certain things again. I'm also marveling at some weeks ago, maybe almost a month and a half ago, I was in an accident. I don't know. I don't think it's even been 2 months. And there were many nights where I was actually in a lot of pain. I was actually crying. I'm a sensitive person, but I was crying due to pain. And so I feel so grateful, definitely for making deposits into the 401k of my health, my movement practice, the fact that I'm not in absolute pain, that I can function. And I've been starting my movement practice again. So I feel very excited about that. Shout out to one of my homies yesterday. We had such a great movement session, and we were like actually bleeding in sweat. And also, something I've known, again, it just keeps expanding over the years. My movement practice, the movement practice that I had yesterday, and I shared it with somebody very dear to me, it was such a release of stress. It was wonderful to have a kindred spirit to do the movement practice with. And by the way, things are coming down the pipeline for those folks who've been waiting to get into the cocoon and into the early morning practice. Hit it and quit it. Fit flower. That's going to be in the morning. That is coming. So that should be up today. If you have any issues getting in or signing up, let me know, especially if you're a subscriber and there are only limited spots. But in any event, it was such a deep release. It was such also, I can just reflect, a time of literally cultivating mental resilience. Literally, these are some of the things that I've gotten for years out of my movement practice. So when I've worked with clients over the years, I'm an early riser, right? Some folks are like, why do you get up so early? And it's so interesting. Perspective is everything. When I'm watching some beautiful sunrises and I have a lot done by a certain hour, it's such a benefit. And even those times of the year where it may be like a little chilly or cold when your feet hit the floor, once my body gets revved up, once I get that deep sweat and release, I feel like, oh my, I feel pure electricity. I feel excited. I feel excited about life. I can't wait to start the day. And I feel like I've got a tremendous head start and my movement practice is out of the way. If this is habitual, it's something that you just don't need to think about it anymore. So it's a time of a lot of internal, I would have to call it joy. It's vigorous. That's why I have my own little language. Vigorous, joyous movement. And it's a practice and it's something I've cultivated. And I look forward to being able to move when my hair is white. And I notice some of my hair is graying. You may see water from me bathing my shower meditation this morning. However, to be able to sit and relax, to sit into the throne of your own existence, especially as a woman, but not but, and as we anticipate the different phases of life that we're going through, right? With all the pressure to alter our bodies and cut pieces off and inject fillers and plastics and different things into our body. And that's everyone's choice. That's everyone's choice. I'm not the food or the hair police. I really feel like it's something to be able to relax, to be able to relax, right? Like, who are we making all these changes for? And as we can see on social media, more folks are speaking out about they make these changes and still something seems to be missing. And how sustainable are these physical changes? Now, that being said, planning your hair and dressing up, and even people that alter their body, who can say like how it makes you feel? I know me being fit is inspiring, but before the look, it's the feeling. It's the feeling. It's something that is beyond intellectualizing it. It doesn't cut it because you can't relate. It is something to be experienced. Vigorous, joyous movement, shaking up your arteries and your spine and your stomach. It's like, we're electric beings. So it's interesting. We hear so much talk of electric food, but many of us are not moving the body. And also, someone that's been a fitness competitor and a personal trainer, I found quite often that a lot of our mindset is what I would call a bodybuilding mindset. We're so preoccupied with the physical aesthetic, and that's a nice benefit. However, it's the function, the functionality of your body, being able to be pain free. Body's going to get some wear and tear on it. The face, the breast, the stomach, things are going to drop. Exercise, though, is definitely youthening, right? And it's very preserving of the body and the shape that we want to see. But more so than that, how we feel, or just as importantly as that, is how we feel. Do you feel vitality? I can feel a difference. For example, in doing a lot of core work, and I've been at different points in my life where I've been deconditioned for me, and then I know what it's like to be reconditioned. And a good example of that is when you're not aware of your body, just like not being aware of pain. When you're in pain, a toothache, humbling, or nerve pain from one of my first injuries in a car accident, so humbling. It's almost some pain you can't feel like you can't even function. So while it's humbling, people that are on painkillers, well, also as your back and your core get stronger, it's almost like you're not aware of your back or your body anymore. And so it's so much attention is freed up to focus on other things and to play. And if you've ever been in a lot of pain, it can make you so just appreciative. And I think it's also interesting, it was so stuck in a lot of our minds without judging ourselves. There are a lot of deposits coming through these screens, a lot of fright and fear being deposited. And I'm 1000% clear that it is driving our consumption patterns, us eating mindlessly, us doing a lot of different things mindlessly, engaging in very mindless ways, having communication that's very limited, just talking at each other, being in what I call a state of triggeration. So your movement practice is one of my deepest therapies. And I figured out, I can articulate it better, but I figured out early on that it was something that I had access to, that I could do myself. So over the years, for many decades, I've invested in it intuitively, and I have never, ever, ever regretted it, which is one of the reasons why I really encourage you all to begin a personal movement practice. Even if you think that it's not perfect, I do recommend that you take some time to educate yourself on staying injury free and being effective and efficient. So you can start with a firm foundation. Many of us today are so with our bodies, many of our bodies are deconditioned so that when we jump into exercise, a good portion of the population, the majority of the population, usually, I think they said 60 to 85%, last I checked, gets an injury within the first 6 weeks of joining a gym. And so usually we're taken off from where our bodies were in high school without respecting the body and without allowing the connective tissue, the tendons, and the ligaments and the nervous system an opportunity to adapt to the new workload that we're putting on it. So we definitely want to be respective of the body, right? Because as I like to say, the ego will take out the host. So we want the body to be there. So we just give it some time. So the consistency is so key to you having a good experience. Because if you can just stay with yourself, right? The mental resiliency, if you can stay and hold space for yourself through safe, challenging discomfort, because it's uncomfortable to get conditioned. If you can get through maybe the panic or the anxiety around all this new workload being put on the body, you're in for a powerful treat, if I could call it that, experiencing your own power and your own vitality. It's like, I don't know if there are even words to express it. So, all that to say, all of this that come together, your, um, your eating, your consumption, right? Not just eating. I like to think of it as the energy that you're consuming, because your mindset and your energy consumption, they are all connected. So the therapy, the self-administered therapy of the garden, of what you're feeding into your cells, your mood, your mentality, as well as your arteries, your brain, and your tissues, that's going to carry over what you're consuming off of the screens, the relationships that you're consuming, energy and interactions with people. All of this makes a big, big difference. And we're in a time right now where there's a heightened sense of anxiety. So perhaps one of the best things that we can do is be really aware of our consumption patterns, and your movement practice can catapult you there. Your movement practice can springboard you into having an experience, that gives you tremendous release of stress hormones, give you a tremendous release of feel good drugs from within your own body. And it can also make this space to help us get quiet, to get quiet in the sense of clearing a lot of the clutter so that we can hear and be internally and divinely led. and I'm of the perspective, what I say is not necessarily the truth, just one woman's perspective, that all of us, all human beings, we are all born with a divine, innate, onboard intelligence that doesn't need a middleman or middle woman. And so I just want to move forward. I don't want to be in here too long today because I have other things to do. There's a question that I came up with, and the question is learning to trust and to listen to your own. You can call it your voice, you can call it God, inspiration, your own divine onboard innate intelligence. Is that enough? Could that ever possibly be enough for you to learn to trust that intelligence? We say intuition, but quite often the frequency or the communication of our intuition is interrupted because literally there's so much noise, and there's also tapes being played from trauma and how we're interpreting the trauma and the environment that we're in. So do you think that it's possible? Could it be possible to trust yourself more than you trust a minister, a imam, a religious person, a political figure, even your parents? Not to say that all these folks don't have valid information. What would it be like to totally sit on the throne of your own internal trust, to be able to trust yourself? And perhaps that's a muscle for us to develop if we're not in the habit, right, of, first of all, being able to listen and to have patience as we allow our intelligence to bubble up solutions to whatever it is that we're dealing with. Do you think how we eat is directly correlated to our mental health? Definitely. Definitely. That's not to say that, folks, we have some brilliant minds and some people that eat junk food, but I would definitely say, the sugar can affect, not can, affects our nervous system, our ability to remain very even keeled. And if you just think of, many of us may only think of the limbs, and be aware on a very basic level of if they're in pain. However, this body is a factory of over 1 trillion living cells, like little me's, that are communicating like factories and systems. So if I'm putting in things that the cells can't recognize, and plastics and colorings, then the communication is going to be off. And then when we think of inflammation, how should the body respond to these substances that it can't recognize? Although they be tasty, right? Oh, junk food junkie, the MSG and the colorings and the flavorings and the different cans of chips, and also the amounts of food we're eating, even if they're raw vegan and we have the need to eat pounds and pounds of nuts, or just too many nuts because they're very concentrated calories. Can we trust ourselves? See, perhaps it's something for us to cultivate a slowing down so we can notice when we're eating to soothe ourselves, but we just don't really need anymore. So I know for me, I eat very clean. I enjoy my food, but I know if I should happen to be in front of the screen and I'm noshing on nuts, my liver, my body says, no, it's too much. It's consistent. So as we start to consume a lot cleaner, we can see the patterns. Patterns are the shortcut to give yourself space to see and observe the patterns consistently over time. Just think about it. We go to these different doctors and professionals who, they have their place and they have their role and their value, but they have to interview us and ask us, well, what's going on? Well, how long did you see it? And then they take tests. But a lot of the time, we're not being experts or being patient to be the expert, relaying expert insight into what is happening in our own body temples. We're the only one that live in this temple for our time, that we are, inhabiting these human suits before we lay them down. So just some things to think about. Oh, the time is running away. So yes, what we eat, I invite you to consider perhaps some other ways of thinking about just eating. Energy consumption, well, we're eating for energy. If you look at many of our waistlines, you can see we have a lot of too much energy, right? Which is stored, we know, in this channel. Adipose tissue is a technical term for fatty tissue. So we're storing all of that excess. And I invite you to consider that we're in certain states of mind when we're consuming more than we need. So many of us, without making ourselves bad or wrong, but self-medicating. So in the quiet, we can observe, well, is that habitual? How long have I been doing that? And why do I do that? And if I didn't do that, what else would I do? So I'm not gonna keep you on too long. There are some exciting special events. I believe I shared one of the flyers. Folks have been asking and asking about the different cakes that I make. So I don't know if you folks know that I'm a chef and a trainer, and I really adore food as a medium of art, and I love to feed people. So I really think, it's wonderful to be able to treat yourself with what I would call like goddess food, like really beautiful food. So you can experience satiation. It's different than just eating a 25-cent bag of chips. When you have something with ingredients that's so beautiful and rich and full of nutrients, and the colors and the visuals and the textures are so exquisite, you can eat it, be satiated, and get up and move on with your life to something else. So we're going to be exploring living passion cake. So living foods is my focus. I know how to make all manner of stuff. Living foods is my specialty, and that's my preference. So we're going to be making some really beautiful cakes or cake, depending on what is seasonal and available at the market. And what I'm also going to do that day is we're going to do preparation for a 3-day fast. Now, we're not doing water fasting or anything like that over here. I was trained in nutritional fasting years ago, and I would have to agree with my mentor. Most folks have so much toxins in their system. It may be very extreme, particularly if we don't prepare ourselves for a rest period. So a lot of people like to say fast. I like to say a rest period. And a distinction here is we're not going to be depriving the body of nutrients, but we will allow the system to rest. So we're going to be doing, it's a lot of stuff that is coming up. There's waist speeds training. So, by the way, I invite you to get on the mailing list. There are limited spots. So, I did say I will come on and tell folks in my YouTube community first. So, hopefully, you're on the mailing list. If you were on the mailing list before, because it's Thembi, I can say pronounce your name. It's not in front of me. I think it's South African. There have been a few folks that have been asking me about the cocoon. The cocoon is on the schedule. Waist speeds training, goddess and living passion cakes is on the schedule. The 3-day fast, adding more classes for Monday through Thursday is hit it and quit it within 40 minutes. If you're doing that consistently, I guarantee you'll be bleeding and sweat, and we will be going over corrective exercise. So that is from 4 to 6, I think, my time, and 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then lunchtime classes, efficient fitness. Am I saying that right? Common sense nutrition, right? It's alternating days with effective, efficient. I have a list and I have it mixed up. Effective, efficient fitness. So those are lunchtime classes. So as a trainer, as someone that comes from a history of obesity in my family, I'm really big on cutting out the guesswork. And I'm not interested in dieting. I love having a sweet spot. So there might be times like with the cake I just made where I did have 2.5 slices for breakfast. Yes, I did. But I don't have to worry. It was so many servings of fresh fruit, no sugar, no dairy. It was very, very decadent. When I ate it, I was just fully satiated. And actually, I didn't have a desire. Actually, after I felt I wanted to eat greens. So that's one of the beautiful things with eating whole living food. It's fiber dense. It's rich in fiber, nutrients. It's also very colorful and delicious. So a lot of people have been asking. So I finally decided to open up and share making some living cakes. And these can be, it's really important to have some things to look forward to. That's how I don't have to diet. So there are times where I can be more conditioned or more buff. However, I've got activity built into my lifestyle. So even with the injury, even as I mature, even as I don't do, all the hours that I did before in one day, I don't have to worry about it. So that's ideal to find your sweet spot. So there's lunchtime classes. There's something else like that's going to be coming up called moon cocoon. So cocoon is in the wee hours, and then there's going to be a moon cocoon. And this is all me just being led internally, right? Moon cocoon is going to be addressing a lot of us that are challenged with sleep, that are not sleeping, whether that's because your body's going through changes or you're wound up with a lot of anxiety. And it's also going to be a support for folks that eat late at night. So I'm so excited about these offerings because it's very important to me to do things that are me, um, that are authentic. Um, I'm not someone to sell something that I don't believe in, and more so than selling, I'm sharing offerings that have been inside of me for a long time. So I'm really, really excited. So hopefully you folks are on the mailing list. Also, feel free to get your copy of Natural Beauty No Products, Only Food That's Cruelty Free, vegan, plant based. So I do put fruits and vegetables on my face. I'm not exaggerating. That's how I cleared up my skin. Some folks have been asking uh, about using natural products. So there's a lot that I don't use. And so quite often people are asking for more products. However, I have thrown away most products. So you might find some black soap or some shea butter and olive oil, in my bathroom, but I don't buy a lot of products, and that was very intentional. And you'll see that also in Natural Beauty No Products, Only Food. So if I can't eat it, I'm not putting it on my face. And then for those folks that can't get to me initially for a consultation, I recommend even before we go into this 3-day, and it's a nutritional fast. It's a nutritional fast or rest, that you get a copy of Whole Living Foods in the Hood with menus to fit your budget. That's going to be a great help in preparing for a fast, which many people don't take the time to do. Many people binge before a quote unquote fast. And then many people don't have an idea for what their lifestyle is going to be after. So to do all of that work and to really receive all that benefit, to turn around and like detox to retox, it can eventually make you very jaded. Like I've been there and I've done that. So you may not be reaping all the benefits of that rest period if you don't have a idea, at least some kind of idea for what your goals are for your consumption patterns after a fast or after a cleanse. So you get off the detox to retox, which is almost like a binge and purge, or some people may even be relying on colonics in that binge purge cycle. So let's see, is somebody saying something? How do we get added to the mailing list? Okay, so if you go over to body-culinary.com, you should see an area. I think actually when you first go into the website, it'll tell you to receive updates. Um, just type in, it's like a little box. You can type your email there. You can also, there should also be on a contact page a way to send me a message. So I highly recommend you get a copy of that guide. A lot of more, I thought of all the things that would have saved me so much money on so much supplements. And do be aware that this nutritional fast, my focus is always on food that you could recognize. So I've done all kind of supplements and protein powders, everything you can think of. And so I always come back to the ways of the mothers and the grandmothers, which is actually very simple, and it's food based, that you can still recognize it as a food. And then also keep in mind your cells can also recognize it as food, and that can also keep your costs down so the lifestyle is sustainable. So that's very, very important to me. I'm very sensitive to that, especially if someone, I'm a mom, I'm a mother. Natural born woman, I'm a mother, and I love my lifestyle. And so I can maintain my lifestyle. If you put me pretty much in any environment, if I'm traveling or whatever. And so that is the goal. That is what I like to call the sweet spot. So you will likely, you're welcome. You will likely find your sweet spot. So there are a few items that I do have available: the AFRO amulets and the cowries. These little delicate, I love little delicate things I hand cut. Those are available in the Body-Culinary Etsy shop. Is there anything else I'm sharing? And I think I am going to re-release See, I like to share things that are part of my lifestyle. So I'm a bicycle rider. I'm not a car person. I'm more of a bicycle. I like to fashion myself with my fruits and vegetables as if I'm riding my bicycle in Paris, hanging out of my little basket, my little straw basket with some kitten heels on and a skirt. So I have made some kente and different African print bicycle covers, because you got to get the bike right. Bicycle covers and my little shirts like fruits and vegetables bring us together because we don't need one more thing to divide us, right? Everybody, whatever your label, can benefit from more fresh fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. And what else? And then I have these covers for the pillows that are silk and satiny. So if you're not into tying your hair up, because a lot of times I'm just not, I like freedom. So those go over the pillow. So those are things that I like. I create the things and share the things that I like and that I know that I'm going to use until they fall apart. Right. I like what's sustainable. So anyway, I'm going to run on out of here. Oh, so I did want to get on here and just set the tone for the day with just a bit of relaxation. Relaxation to me is a beauty product, right? Relaxation, health is a beauty product, play is a beauty product. That's just the inner workings of my mind, right? And these are things that we have access to. So it doesn't have to be a grand production. I invite you sometimes, you might in your office or in your home need to lay on the floor sometimes in fetal position, maybe for 5 or 10 minutes and do nothing so that you can rest and relax. There's a lot of stimulus that is tapping and hitting your psyche, right? And most of our behavior is driven by a subconscious. So there are some relaxation videos also on this channel. So you're welcome to find a comfortable position. We're just going to do relaxation. I have one of my computers on my yoga blocks. You're welcome to take a pillow or a yoga block and sit it underneath your glutes, underneath your buttocks to help give you a little bit more height if your hips are kind of closed, and that can help your hips open up. And you're welcome to roll your shoulders around, down, and back so that your shoulders are a bit retracted and creating a lot of space between your shoulder and your ears so you're not restricting any blood flow. And if you have computer neck or a cell phone neck, you can take and bring your chin in just a little bit so that your spine is nice and aligned. So we're just going to take a few moments just to breathe in and out. There are different ways to breathe, but this in particular is in and out through the nose. You can keep your eyes closed or open, and your goal is to strive to lengthen and kind of match or synchronize your inhale with your exhale and to breathe as deep as possible and allowing yourself just to relax. It's real simple. Okay, here we go. So you're invited to take a mental snapshot of what relaxation feels like. Know that you have access to relax at any point during the day. It doesn't cost you anything. I invite you today to feed yourself the most beautiful, colorful, nutrient-dense, water-rich fuel, peaceful fuel available to you. I invite you to create a great day on purpose just because you said so. And create a great day, one that you can be proud of. So y'all have a fantastic day. Feel free to like, comment respectfully in the comment section, and subscribe. And I will see y'all soon. I am Kwasapeacefull Eating with a K, full, like full belly, Kwasapeacefull Eating on TikTok. I post on Body-Culinary on Instagram. See y'all soon.